Welcome to today's episode of the Bold Vision Podcast, where we spotlight leaders in the construction industry and we specialize in helping small businesses scale their revenue. If you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, be sure to stick around. Drop comments below, follow us on YouTube and Spotify, or subscribe to our channel. For those of you who are just joining me, I'm your host. My name is Sonya Sanchez, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Dave Wageman. He is the co-owner and the sales manager at Hometown Restyling. So Dave's been with Hometown Restyling since 2009, starting as a project manager and now leading sales operations for nearly 40 years. Remodeling company, he's based in Iowa. So, hi Dave, welcome to the show today. We're so glad to have you. And why don't you just get started and tell us a little bit about your journey, a little bit about yourself, and tell us what is Hometown Restyling? What is that?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the opportunity. So Dave Wageman, I'm just a small town Iowa boy here in Iowa. Hometown Restyling. We're a full service remodeling company. We do everything from windows, siding, sunrooms, kitchens, bathrooms, decks, doors. We kind of full service remodeling here across the eastern half of the state. Really, my story starts when I was very young. I actually grew up kind of as a single dad contractor. The job site was not only part-time babysitter, but part-time playground. So I kind of grew up in this world and really got started here at Hometown back in 2009. I was hired on with no sales experience as a sales representative. And really, I got to apply kind of my hands-on experience up to that point in the sales world and learned a lot early on. One of the big changing points in my career was be able to kind of implement a lot more technology. I was by far the youngest rep at the time, working with a lot of older veteran reps that had a lot of tools that they were equipped with that I wasn't, but I was bringing in a lot of things that they didn't have either. So it was a good time for that to actually happen. And had a great sales career for 10 or so years, and then had an opportunity to buy out the company with four other business partners currently back at 2020. So we bought out the company in 2020 and kind of whirlwind there at COVID, signed away our mortgages and then had to deal with all that came with COVID. We've had a lot of great success since then. It was a fearful time for a moment, but COVID ended up actually being a blessing in disguise, surge in our industry, our business specifically. And we've been able to grow the company dramatically, almost doubled in size, added a lot of key players, perfected a lot of processes, and we're just excited to kind of be moving forward.
That's awesome. So tell me, like as a young boy, did you always think that you would be in construction or, what were you thinking for yourself when you were reaching those high school years? And I'm bringing this up because my last guest, we're realizing, and a lot of people in construction are understanding, kids these days, they don't really want to go in the trades. And, if you try to talk to them once they're already at like a college career fair, they've pretty much got their mind set up that they want to be an engineer or a lawyer or they want to get that business degree, they want to sit behind a computer. So what was it that striked your interest and wanted made you inspired to go into the trades?
Yeah, I think I was just born into it. I was in my blood. I saw my dad, everything from a framing contractor to a general contractor. I worked side by side with him on a lot of, interior remodels, exterior siding projects. I don't know that I knew anything else. It was just kind of always going to be some form of construction in my life. I still remember, I think it was probably third grade with one of my best friends. His dad was a contractor as well. And we wrote that we were going to own a construction business together. Now we're not together, but he owns a separate business. I own this business. We did kind of come full circle there, but, it is nice to hear. I mean, that other people are kind of identifying the issues with the young kids going into the trades. But I think this year, we're right around, graduation time, and we're seeing and hearing a lot from a lot of kids that are going into the trades. I got a couple of kids that aren't quite graduation age yet, but a lot of kids from their school are going into welding and construction and other different sorts of things. So it's not the college or bust mindset that it once was, but I think we still have a lot of work to do in that category.
No, I think so. I think, educating the younger generation is, pretty much what we need to be doing. And, I just think that a lot of kids don't realize that, you can make well over six figures, in the construction trade. And by not going to college, you don't have all of that debt. Now I'm not trying to be an advocate one way or the other, like don't go to college, go to college. I'm just saying I remember when I was growing up, it was almost like, the kids that didn't go to college or the kids that got in the trade, like that was for the dumb kids. And it's just not so, because I didn't come into construction until well in my 40s and as a woman, and I've made the most money I've ever made, in the construction industry. So the opportunities are there. And I just think that, we need to let people know more about that and let them know that they do have options and there's so much that you can do in construction. I mean, there's not just like one thing. It is a lot of hard work and blood and sweat, but everybody I've talked to, they say it was well worth it. So how do you feel about that any regrets?
No regrets at all. I can't. When I first got hired on here, it was just a perfect fit for me, and I think that's the big thing. It doesn't matter. Again, trades is kind of like college. They're both very vague. If you're going to college just to go to college, or if you're going into the trades just to be in the trades, well, it might not be a good fit. But if you kind of identify what that good fit is, what's the skill set, what's the talent, what's the passion, you can kind of get there a lot quicker. So it worked out really well for me that I had the passion for the construction, love working with people. So the sales of the construction, I already had the hands-on knowledge of what I was selling. So that just paired really well. But yeah, I think that we're always hiring, and some of the best hires we have are just really hungry high school kids, or maybe they made it a couple years in college and dropped out or whatnot, but they're just hungry to work and got good work ethic. The others are actually coming out of trade school, so they can go to trade school, learn some of the more specifics to the trade, and then come on. And a lot of times they come on as an intern, and then they almost all end up staying. So.
That's really good. That's really good. Now, do you guys have your own training, internally?
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to have a training mindset. So it's a everyday process. We do have a mindset of kind of a sink or swim. We're going to throw guys out there. When they need help, we're going to help them, but we're really going to throw them in the thick of it fairly early on because I'm a true believer that they're going to learn hands on and they're going to learn from their mistakes quicker than they're going to learn from other people's successes. So letting them fail at times is kind of a good thing. You can't let them get too down on themselves, but you identify what was wrong, point out how they could have done it better, and they'll learn so much quicker and faster that way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, learning, failure is not always failure, right? I mean, it depends on how you look at it. And yeah, some of my biggest failures were my biggest, learning experiences and made me better the next time around. So what's it like for you, like on your day to day? I mean, you're a co-owner of the company. So like day to day, I mean, walk us through from morning to afternoon. I mean, what do your days look like?
Sure. So it's going to vary a lot for me. Again, the typical business owner thing to say is I wear a lot of hats, right? I mean, it's very true though. My typical day as a sales manager, I come in fairly early in the morning. I start kind of identifying the leads that we've got already set for the day. I will identify kind of the route and the best rep to run that specific type of appointment, get all my reps set up and get those leads issued out and then send them kind of out on their way. In that same kind of time frame, I'm kind of looking over the paperwork and the leads from the day before. So I identify, what went well, what didn't go well, what could we have done better, and then move on to kind of checking paperwork. So as the sales reps are, turning in paperwork, I'm going through and checking their job packets, making sure they have all the correct information, all the questions are answered, all of, T's are crossed, I's are dotted, whatnot. And then from there, it's going to be a kind of mixed bag of things. Um, I'm going to run some appointments myself. So again, that's actually one of my favorite things to still do is go out and meet clients and help design and build these projects from a concept standpoint and help kind of facilitate their goals into their dreams and actually see them kind of completed. But then as an owner, that it's kind of a broad concept, right? There's a lot of different things, and that's different day to day, week to week, depending on what's needing done.
Right, right. So, what would you say would be like your key focus that really drives a project, towards success?
Sure. So for us as a company or me personally?
Just as a team, as a
Yeah.
company,
Yeah, I think that I've actually got my core values here, and we're just a very customer first kind of focused company. So we're going to go above and beyond, out of our way to do what's right by the customer.
right?
I truly believe that starts with communication, and communication. The big thing of thing communication is setting expectations. We are far from perfect, although our we're always striving for perfection. We know it's never attainable.
Right,
So it's just this always this growth, and where can we identify that we could get better little by little. And so then when you don't promise the world, right? When you promise the world, you're going to fail. So we don't promise the world, but we tell them, identify why we're different. There's a lot of contractors out there. This is why we're different. This is why our customers choose to work with us. And these are the things that we can, deliver. And one of
right,
the big things that I always tell my customers is we're a company of integrity. So I can't promise, I don't guarantee things, I warranty things. So I can't promise that everything will go 100% the way you want it to, but we'll make it right no matter what. And that's kind of the big thing. You just take that fear off the table, give them the peace of mind that, there's going to be hiccups. Construction's messy. There's things that come up. We tear into a house and there's things that you identify you didn't know about. But no matter what, we're going to handle it. We're going to address it. We're going to make it right. So that's, I think, the biggest thing for us of how we start that process and get it moving in the right direction to happy customers.
right. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. In construction, you never know what you're going to get into. I mean, it's hard to know, those unforeseen problems, or, electric or something that's behind the drywall, or, something is just in the way that you can't see, so you have to learn to adapt. And, that's what makes construction so much fun, though. You get to, challenges, and you get to problem solve, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So, like, I know that you guys do mostly what, windows, siding. I mean, you
Yeah.
do interiors too. So, like, since COVID, how do you, like, as far as the market goes, as far as like lead time on materials, have you seen a big change in, items that are harder to get now that maybe were easier earlier? Or, give me some ideas of some challenges that maybe you have experienced since COVID.
Yeah, during COVID, it was a very hostile time frame of just not knowing, right?
Right.
It was the thing you could count on is not being able to count on anything, really. I mean, that's just really the consistency was the inconsistency at that time frame. I think we're fairly consistent now. There's not too much that it's like troublesome for us in the supply chain category. We're busy enough. We've got enough backlog that we can't get there from a labor standpoint. So we have a fairly decent processes that allow the work to come in on orders from the sales reps, and then they get hands off to our production, and production's getting stuff ordered early enough in that process that it's almost all coming in without much of a wait. It's going to be here before we can physically get to it from a labor side. So there's just not much of an issue there. Now there are some custom stuff, especially when we get into some of our more higher end kitchen remodels. There's some unique choices at times that, I mean, we've ordered tile from overseas, and stuff gets stuck in customs. Like, we've seen it happen before, but I
Right.
don't I don't know that it's a very very small percentage of kind of what we're dealing with.
Right, right. So, what would you say, like, looking ahead? I mean, compared to where you are now, like, I mean, how do you see your company growing, and, how do you plan to get there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we definitely have a mindset of growth. So there's definitely some pressure put there on us as a team, on ourselves. And I think it's really through hiring the right people. We got to have the right people in place to make sure that we can execute the goals we set. We're definitely going to be in a situation where we're going to need to be promoting some of our current management to upper management, and then just filling in, like we're talking about, back to hiring. I mean, we just got to hire the right people. um, we feel like we have a fairly strong spot in our market in our current territory. So, it just comes down to being able to fulfill the orders we can bring in.
Right, right. So, I mean, I know that you're in I've got it. I got to look at my notes because I don't know how to say it. Hiawatha, Iowa. But you told me the closest big city to you is what's the name of it?
Yeah, so Hiawatha is a fairly small town connected to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Cedar
Cedar
Rapids
Rapids.
is
Okay.
really, yeah, really also connected to Marion. So just the corridor is Cedar Rapids, Marion primarily, and we're just a little offset. You wouldn't know the difference driving through town. It's all one big community.
So what would you say is your radius of, the business that you get right now? I mean, do y'all stay in one area or are you looking maybe to expand and grow into other service areas at all?
Yeah, we definitely considering expansion in different ways. We look at expansion a handful of different things. We can expand our existing territory from our one location, and we currently serve about 90 miles. We say Eastern Iowa, but about 90 miles from our office. We can extend that up over 90 miles, and you just have extra travel time. We're considering different, satellite offices to work out of, the next closest community, 90 plus miles away. But then we also look at just expansion of product offering. So we can expand, our client base based on just other products that we can bring in and still continue to serve the same physical amount of space. So there's a lot of different options in expansion, and we're considering all of them.
Right. No, that sounds really great. So, I mean, like right now, like, you said, when you have a pipeline and you have these leads coming in, where are you getting most of your leads now? I mean, do you have an estimating team or like what strategies do you use to continue to grow your business?
Yeah, from lead generation, we use a lot of different techniques, and I won't speak too specifically on this because I have a great partner of mine as my marketing director, and he heads that department up. But we're doing a lot of things. TV is still by far our most effective and biggest producer. Produces the most number of leads, total overall revenue. But everything from OTT to social media, Facebook's been a big one lately. Google Ads. We have a lot of microsites running. We've got a few different marketing partners that we work with that are pushing out additional content and just helping us stay relevant. All the way back down to really kind of where we started, which is we still have a ton of referrals, a ton of word of mouth, uh, and just building up that reputation that we have over the almost last 40 years. We can lean on that because, again, a lot of companies have to earn the trust and faith of clients, where a lot of it, especially local, really local to us, we're very much a household name.
Right. No, that's great. That's great that, you have that. But I find too, I mean, too many, especially in construction, I consider them kind of old school. And I think some of them have a really hard time, with keeping up with the marketing and, keeping up with the day to day, the social media. I mean, I have found that if you'd have asked me 2 years ago if a construction company or a deck company or, concrete or whatever landscaper needs to be putting content out on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, I would have said no. But I am seeing a huge change in that. I mean, I have a contractor and, since we started posting regularly, he's just, engagements turning into, clients. And it's really you really kind of have to have everything these days.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to not even if you're not hiring the right people, it's partnering right with the right people, because there's a lot of companies out there that will do that for you. With the small contractors that are looking to grow. A lot of them are in the contracting world because they're good with their hands, right? They're a craftsman themselves, and they don't have all of the tools around them to grow into more than that. And then you just got to start partnering with the right people, because there's a lot of social media experts out there. I don't pretend to be one of them myself, but we do a lot in that category with a lot of different partners. Everybody from the again people create the content to the people posting the content to the people pushing that content out to the different various sites. It's a very important piece in this world that we live in today. I mean, I think that as strong as TV is for us, I mean, people are watching their content on a phone and via reels and shorts, more so than anything these days.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't talked to many people lately that, have said that they're on TV, but I know, here locally in Virginia, there is one company and they're always on TV and you see their trucks everywhere and they must be doing something right because I see their vans all over the place. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very effective for us still. I do see a day that it'll come to an end, or at least not become the most important piece of our marketing strategy. But it's still a ways off. I think it's still going to be a powerful source for us for a while.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell me about one of your most favorite projects? Like, how did it go? How'd you land it? What was involved in it, and why are you so proud of it?
Sure. I mean, so it's hard to pick. I mean, it's kind of like picking a favorite child, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
love them all. Not saying that there hasn't been some difficult ones over the years, but really, I think that I look at the ones that are customers that, didn't just do one thing and they didn't do it just one time. It's probably less about the project itself is the relationship you build with the customer. So going back and meeting with a customer for the third or fourth time on an additional project, getting to talk about how the old projects have impacted their lives. I'd say our kitchens and our sunrooms are kind of the most like life changing. A lot of people are working with a very inadequate space or design in a kitchen. And then we look at our sunrooms, it's like, they're one of the most exciting things. I mean, people are so excited to show off a sunroom for years and years to come. It could have been done years ago, and they're still like, hey, come see my sunroom. And we're told by our customers they're the most used space in the house. So, I can think of a few customers specifically that, you probably started off with something small, maybe something as small as a single storm door that they ordered from us, and then
Wow.
moved up and did some window replacement, and then maybe a siding job. And it's those customers that we go back and see time and time again that you build this ongoing relationship with. And, I've got multiple of those people kind of just, as contacts in my phone, and I know that we're going to interact again. It's just, when the time's right for them.
Right. No, that is very cool. Yeah, I know I'm a fan. I've said this before. I'm a fan of, the Magnolia Network. I love watching that stuff, where they take the ugliest house in the nicest neighborhood. And I mean, this is just, it has no space. There's no functionality, there's no character to it. And then 30 minutes later, you watch it and you're like, oh my God, it's just totally changed. So you just have to have a creative mind, right? And got to have that vision. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely some TV magic and all that stuff. It's a love-hate relationship with the HGTV networks and whatnot. Sometimes they make things look too easy. Again, construction is messy, right? And they have that TV magic that just says it happens overnight. And we produce those same quality of projects, but there's a process to it. Some of our customers will choose to move out of the house. They
Yeah.
just know they don't want to be part of the mess. Other customers, again, setting that expectation, they got to know that, hey, this is going to be a painful process. I love to joke with my customers. It's like, having your family over for the holidays. You're always
Yeah.
excited to see them, but you're excited to see them leave too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
that's the same thing with a contractor. You want them to get started, but you want them to be done.
Right.
Get out of my house and let me enjoy my space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I know it's a lot of dust, a lot of mess. I think if I was going to have my house remodeled, I'd probably apt to just move the hell out and let me know when it's done, because it can get messy. So, do you guys do any commercial at all or just strictly residential?
Yeah, we're doing a very little bit of commercial, and it's again just more out of these companies are saying, hey, we it's probably small enough commercial that it doesn't warrant an actual commercial contractor, but it's definitely classified as commercial work. And we just again have a strong enough name that we have contact with a lot of times their customers are residentially, and then their work, their profession has this need, and they're reaching out to us. So we're really not marketing for it, but we're more than equipped to do some of that work. And it's just, sometimes you just let people do what they do best. And again, the commercial guys, for the most part, they do that really well. We do the commercial or the residential stuff really well. And you kind of stay in your lane to some point.
Yeah, yeah. I think because trying to do everything, you can't rank for everything. You can't be great at everything. So I think the companies, I mean, I'm finding that the companies, at least the small businesses like yours, if they're niche down in just a couple of services that they do, I think that they're more successful than just trying to do everything because it's like, how do you even plan for that, right? Like, how do you even have a crew that, if you're advertising masonry, trees, bathrooms, whatever. I mean, how do you even plan for that,
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of the neat part about us is we are fairly diverse, but then we have specific departments. In that department, our window installers only install windows. Our siding
Okay.
guys only install siding. So we're very niche within the department, but yet we're very, variated throughout the different products we offer. So that diversity helps us because when one product isn't the hot thing to do right now. Again, we kind of joke nobody needs a sunroom, everybody wants a sunroom. Well, if the market's at all down, if there's at all any type of a recession or anything like that happening, sunrooms are kind of the first thing that stops happening because nobody needs it.
Because
Um,
it's kind of a luxury item, right?
yeah, it's a luxury item. Yep, yep. And again, as much as they transform people's lives, when people are holding tighter on their dollars, that's less of a need. So that's generally when people are spending more money on windows and siding and the things that their house absolutely does need. So it allows us to continue to grow when the market's good or down.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got to have good windows. I mean, these days, because your electric bill, it can really affect, your electric bill, and, your air conditioning has to work twice as hard if your house isn't insulated. And so, I know windows and, sliding glass doors and sunrooms and all of those things are expensive, but it's very important that, you have efficiency too.
Yeah, energy loss. A lot of people think just straight insulation. Insulation is important, but really air loss, the actual air loss, not just heat exchange, is the number one loss of energy in the house. So again, windows we identify as one of the number one leaks. So that's kind of one of the spots we focus on heavily is just getting that sealed up tight, making sure we can control the interior.
Yeah, yeah. So I always ask this to everybody, and I'm like, hypothetically, in a perfect world. But no, I mean, if you had like a magic wand and there was one thing that you could fix, just one thing, maybe it's something that's holding you back, maybe it's something that's slowing you down, maybe it's something that just aggravates the hell out of you. But if it was one thing and you had a magic wand to fix, what would it be?
Yeah, again, it's you look at a lot of different things. There's a lot of things that can always be better. Like I said, we're striving for perfection. Um, I'd say the one thing that is probably the most troublesome, and I'd say this about probably anybody in any profession, is if it was just a window replacement or just a sunroom build or just a kitchen, but there's so many people involved. And I love working with people, but you just got to know that there's people problems and there's drama, right? There's feelings, there's emotions. All of these things have to be accounted for within these projects because it's not cut and dry. We joke that you go to Best Buy and buy a big screen TV, you walk out the door, you're done dealing with Best Buy. Well, that's not the construction process at all, right? I mean, there's a lot of things you got to jump through. So everything from employees to customers to subcontractors to the suppliers and manufacturers. There's just a lot of people that you deal with. And again, if I could just wave a magical wand, I'd get rid of people problems, which is generally the drama piece of it. Again, very empathetic to everybody's situation, but it's that stuff that really slows down the processes, in my opinion.
Yeah, that I haven't had anybody say that, but I could see that because, yeah, I mean, anybody that's got people problems, whether it's the client themselves, the guy working for you, your flooring guy, the distributor or manufacturer where you're waiting for those flooring or hardware or whatever, they've got some family life crisis, and now you were supposed to get your doors, delivered on Monday, and he just told you he had to go out of town and there's nobody else that can deliver these doors, and you're not seeing him till Thursday. You're
Yep.
like,
Yeah, and I think for me the biggest thing is again the law of averages says that there's going to be some of that, right? I mean,
right.
much as we are very careful to hire the right people and to choose to work with the right people as far as partners, subcontractors, and even our customers, right? Sometimes you got to be the right fit for them. Is you know that in that process there's still going to be some failures on our part of making those selections and just being prepared for it, knowing that it's coming. It puts you in a lot better space. One of the things I always think about is no matter what is going on, is it's not going to last. One of my favorite quotes is, "And this too shall pass." Right. So
Right.
it's like it doesn't matter how good things feel right now or how bad things are. It's going to come and go. It's a way. It comes in waves. So
Yep. I mean, that's always been my philosophy. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And sometimes, I've been on these big projects, and, it's like, it's going to be there tomorrow. I mean, it's going to be there tomorrow. I don't have to take it home with me, and, we'll get it fixed and we'll get it figured out. So, yeah. So, knowing what you know today, looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently? I mean, do you have any advice to people that are thinking to themselves, maybe I want to work for myself. Maybe, I want to be a contractor. Maybe I want to go do something. I mean,
Yeah, I think I don't know there's a whole lot that I would change. I think that I'm very much a person that believes that things happen for a reason. But again, I think that I'm partly where I'm at is because I took action. I probably applied for a position that I wasn't qualified for. Got into a situation and made the best of it. I think that again, a lot of people are just too scared of failure, and you just have to go out and be willing to accept that things aren't going to go the way you always plan, and that generally ends up for most people in a good scenario, right? So they talk about the unanswered prayers are some of the best ones, right? It's
right.
like you really really want something, and sometimes not getting that is going to be the benefit. So I think just building up that kind of grit and knowing that things won't always go your way is one of probably the biggest piece of advice. I mean, there's very little that out, outdoes hard work. I mean, hard work gets you so far, and it's a harder and harder find and hires these days. Is just being able to put in that hard work, put in the time, put in the effort, and stay consistent. Stay consistent's another one. It's just like just keep doing it. Like even if you're falling down, keep doing it because you're going to get better and better. The life lessons that you'll learn along the way will put you in the right spots.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, well, it's been, great talking to you. I mean, it sounds like you've had a whirlwind of a journey. You're well on your way to being very successful. I mean, do you see yourself, where do you see yourself? What are you, about 40 years old right now?
That's a good guess. Yep, I'm 38.
All right, I was close, close.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but you don't like swing hammers anymore or do any of the hard lifting, but you're mostly like your sales. I mean, that's mostly, what you focus on, right?
Yeah, so I think if I look into my crystal ball, which is as good as yours, I still swing the hammer. I kind of joke with my customers that anything we do as a company, I could personally do it for them. But because I'm not doing it for them, I'm not doing it day to day. It's not my everyday. My guys are going to do it a whole lot better. So let's just let them do it because they're better than me. But yeah, I really look at probably taking the next step in my career. I work with a lot of great people. Have a lot of just a lot of tools and resources around me. But my business partners are significantly older than me. I think everywhere from 62 down to 54, and then I'm 38. So as they start to exit, I still have to start rebuilding that team of key players inside our business. So I'll probably take even more of a leadership role as that happens, as I become the most veteran leader on the team. So I, look forward to having that opportunity and still be able to kind of lean on my former business partners on just, be able to call up and ask a question for advice and see how they would handle a situation. Something we do a lot today. I mean, we're 5 equal partners. No one person has all the answers. So we're really able to kind of work things out in that group.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, it sounds like you fell into a really good opportunity and you've got a good culture going on over there and, your partners are really supportive. So it's been really great and enlightening, hearing your story and your journey. So for those listeners, that maybe want to know more about you or, maybe they're thinking of a remodeling job in Iowa and they're looking for, someone like yourself. I mean, how would you tell them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, anything from right on our website, hometownrestyling.com. We have a contact page. Feel free to reach out, ask for me directly. I'm on most all the social medias. LinkedIn might be the easiest one. Happy to exchange contact info and connect. I mean, I truly believe even when people think they're learning from me, I'm probably learning as much or more from them. A great saying that I've picked up lately is, I'm just a fellow learner, right? I
Right.
mean, we're all just fellow learners. Like anybody that thinks they know it all probably is in the way of themselves learning more. And I know there's a lot more for me to learn. So I would love to connect with people and find out, what's working for them and maybe even what's not working for them. So, I can process through their issues, makes me learn and maybe predict something we aren't dealing with yet.
Right. And that's, I'm really just having a lot of fun, like meeting all these owners and these business, people that are in construction. Because I mean, just in my first two, podcasts, I mean, like those people they need to know each other. You know what I mean? They really need to know each other. So, when I get that opportunity to go back and speak to each one of them, I'm going to make sure that, I'm connecting people, good people with the same values, that can help one another and grow those relationships, because there's just a lot of really good people out there with a lot of really good knowledge, and you just never know what door might open by having a conversation with someone. So yeah, so it's been a pleasure to have you today. And for all of you guys on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you're seeing this podcast, please know that you can drop a line. I'll always stop and answer any questions when it comes to construction. So we appreciate you watching our podcast today. And again, follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube or Spotify. Put comments in below, and we'll reach out. So thanks for today's episode.